Hi everyone, what's going on? It's Ben here, and today we're going to be talking about the major motion picture, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I'll be doing a film review of this and kind of just diving into my general thoughts on the acting, the direction, the plot, the writing, and my overall just thoughts and opinions on the film. So, if you're unfamiliar with the story at all, I'll give a quick little background and synopsis and then get into my thoughts on various aspects of the film. So, The Perks of Being a Wallflower came out in the spring of 2012. It is a coming of age story that's adapted from a novel written by Steven Shabotsky. Um, and it is about a 14-year-old who is in the center here, and he grows up in this world where he's not very popular or doesn't have a lot of friends necessarily, and then he goes off to high school and he's very quiet. He is the titular wallflower being talked about, and he makes friends with the two people on either side of him in this shot who are two siblings, and they're seniors, and they're not necessarily the most popular kids, but they kind of march to the beat of their own drum. They are strong and fun people, and he kind of learns how to not be afraid to express himself, and a bunch of other kind of life lessons about individuality and being proud of who you are. And yeah, and so he kind of goes on this journey to being more free than who he is, I guess you'd say. Um, so I guess we'll just get straight into it. Overall, I like this film a lot. I think it has a lot of aspects of it that are really well done. I think there are certain things that I've noticed watching it a second time or third time around that actually make it not as good in my opinion as I maybe thought about it the initial time I watched it. So I think the first time I watched this was around the time it came out in 2012. I was around actually a similar age as the main character. I think I was 15 when this movie came out, or about to turn 15. So if the main character is 14, that puts me at basically exactly the same age as him. Um, I thought all the beats it hit as far as like high school were relatable, and I liked everything. Basically, I liked everything about it. It has a twist ending as well, and I won't say anything about it, but I guess it's not exactly a twist, but just you see things from a different perspective towards the end of the movie, and I like that a lot. Upon watching it second and third times over, I think the most recent time I watched it was um, a month or two ago, and I just realized that there are certain aspects of high school portrayed in ways that are much more mature than what real high schoolers are like, I think. And obviously, that comes along with a movie that is taking a 14-year-old in our main character, being played by, I think at the time, like a 19-year-old, and then of course, you have these 17-year-olds in Emma Watson and Ezra Miller. They're 17-year-olds being portrayed by like 23 and 24-year-olds. So obviously, there's not much credibility to the fact that these are actually high schoolers, because they all, although they are clean shaven and look like they could be in high school, just from knowing who they are and how they act and even just carry themselves in the movie, to me, upon rewatch, it is kind of hard to buy in that they are high schoolers. Now, I think it's relatively easy to get over this after about the first 10 to 15 minutes or so, but the beginning of the film is our main character, played by Logan Lerman, like preparing for his first day of school. That's kind of the opening of the movie, and this kid is 14 years old, writing in his journal about how he's nervous about the first day, and at no point can you ever fully buy in that Logan Lerman is 14. He just looks way older, but that's besides the point. I think suspension of disbelief allows you to kind of get over that, where you're kind of just allowed to put that aside and enjoy the rest of the movie, which I am able to do. Um, Breaking down the acting in this film, it's pretty solid, I think. I think everybody does their part up to what the expectation would be. I don't think anybody necessarily supersedes what's written down for them as far as dialogue or direction or what they're supposed to be doing in any given scene. A lot of people kind of point to Emma Watson as kind of like the standout, while she really like got to show off her ability to act in this movie. Um, I think that she did a fine job, but I also think like the character in the book and for the film is written as kind of this free spirit who gets a lot of long monologues about like being inspirational, and she's kind of like the muse of our main character, and that she's the one who inspires him and motivates him throughout a lot of the story. So I think like yes, she did a good job, but also her character is written to be this character that gets a lot of these long um a lot of these long monologues and opportunities for exposition and things like that, where she gets to talk a lot, basically is what I'm saying. And it's kind of a weird juxtaposition to our main character who doesn't get to talk very much. And as the title says, he is a wallflower, so a lot of his acting, Logan Lerman's, is much more subtle and reading the room. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that too, actually, in that he really portrays what being a wallflower or being a quiet introvert is like, I think. Um, and he, can express a lot just through his eyes or his mannerisms. Um, Ezra Miller does good too, but he's really essentially there for comedic relief. And to me, one of the weak points of this movie is where they try and then reverse his character and make him like super deep. And he has a romance plot line that I think is decently done, but I also think um, they add a lot of weight to it, and it just, for me, it feels like these are people who are like 15 and 16, some of them. So like the weight that they're giving some of this seems really extreme. And I guess more, that's actually not really the characterization or the acting itself, it's more in the plot. Like they give these really deep backstories to some of these like romances going on, like for instance, Ezra Miller's character or Emma Watson's character, they have like hinted at backstories where like they were doing these kind of outlandish things when they were like 13 or 14 that I just never really buy. And so those backstories are supposed to be like major parts of who their characters are, but for some reason I just can't totally buy them always. Like for instance, they say, I think Sam is Emma Watson's character. They say like when she was like 13, she was like getting into all these like college and high school parties and going crazy. But I mean, just based on who her character is in the movie, I can't really connect that or buy into like a 13 or 14-year-old is going to all these parties. And maybe that's just my fault that I'm not lending the story and the writing enough credit. But for me, that's a really hard sell, just knowing her character in the film as we do. Um, Same with Ezra Miller. He has a pretty lengthy backstory about his like sexuality and stuff like that. And I buy who his character is on screen, but some of the backstory I don't necessarily buy, just because it's so in depth. And like this character seems so carefree at some points. Um I'm trying to think of the right word to describe this here. It's like his character does a complete 180 at certain points just for the convenience of the plot, I guess is how I would say it. Like he almost acts like a completely different character at certain points just to fulfill certain beats of the plot. And I like his characterization a lot. I like his acting a lot. He is probably the funniest character in the whole movie. Um, I think it is a good slice of diversity too, to have a character that represents a different point of view as far as sexuality, and that adds a good beat to the movie as well. Um, what I don't think I like about the acting itself is that I think like the parents are played by, I think, Kate Walsh, and I don't remember who the father is played by, but they just sort of seem like wall dressing that aren't very key to the plot whatsoever. His Logan Lerman, his sister, I don't remember who plays her in the movie. I think it's maybe Lily Collins, but she's also kind of just feels like wall dressing, like not really serving any purpose except to like allow our main character to express himself a little bit. So from that aspect, I think those are the kind of characters where, like, if you get a person who's willing to completely dedicate themselves and put their entire effort in, those kind of characters can make or break a movie's acting, and they can really elevate a character, or they can do what the people in this movie did and kind of just like play to expectation and be kind of unnotable. But I thought I was looking for those characters to really pop up and give me better performances than they did. And as I said at the beginning, they did definitely do adequate, but I think that there was just a missed opportunity for them to have a little bit more purpose to the overall story. As far as writing, I feel like I've been bashing a little bit about the writing, talking about um, I don't remember the characters' names actually. I think the main character's name is Charlie and Emma Watson is Sam, but I don't remember Ezra Miller's character. But Emma Watson and Ezra Miller, they, as I say, their writing is decent, but they give them these very lengthy backstories that I feel like almost need a prequel movie to just explore those, where it's kind of like you have to just accept a lot about them going into this movie. Um, so that was to me one of the weaknesses of the writing is that you feel like you've missed a lot going into it. Um, I would have liked to see Paul Rudd have a bigger portion of writing in this movie. Like his characters, he does a great job. His acting, I like it a lot, but he is in like I think collectively 10 to 15 minutes of this like nearly 2 hour movie, and I think that they could have expanded his role because I just think that they had a really good side character there that they could have done a lot with, and they kind of like the parents or the sister just kind of said, just do your little part and don't do anything beyond that, and they really missed an opportunity there. Um, Mae Whitman is great. Her writing is very good as well. She is written to be this I don't know what you'd call her, kind of a domineering, annoying girlfriend to our main character Charlie, and it's written really well, and she plays it super well. A lot of the movie is written episodic, so you kind of have different things going on throughout the school year. Like they go to a football game, they go to a homecoming game, they go to a dance, they go to a play that they're all acting in, they go to prom, so on and so forth. That aspect I think works pretty well, and you can kind of tell it's adapted from a book in that way, and that you can sort of see like where the chapters are divided up from the book translated into the movie. I think that's done pretty well. The overall direction I think is decent. I know I've been ripping certain aspects of the movie, like the backstories and how certain things are written, but I think overall it's directed fine. Um, and I think like for the budget this movie had, it does fine. But I just feel like if they would have made a few different choices as far as casting, maybe, and or like even direction as far as giving a little bit more guidance to like Paul Rudd's character or the parents or the sister of Charlie or the brother. That could have really made a big difference. And it's like a small little direction thing, but if you just direct them slightly different ways, ask them to evoke certain emotions in certain scenes, that can really add a lot to the movie. And I feel like the director didn't really do that. He just said like, okay, read what's in the script and we're good to go. And he kind of just golfed for par in his direction. I feel like, whereas he could have gone above and beyond and had a lot of opportunities to do so, but he kind of just did what was adequate rather than um, going above and beyond, I guess is what I'm saying. As far as the cinematography, I like how it's shot overall. I think they have a lot of cool. There's this kind of haze that overlaps the entire movie, every shot. I would say, like, um, and it's grainier than most films. I think they shot it on a bigger millimeter camera than they normally do, and so it's grainier than you would see most movies. But I like in the summertime, there's a lot of like light orangey tints to it, and in the fall and winter time, there's a lot of cooler like blue tints to the overall screen and stuff. So I think that that's done really well to kind of give you a to kind of immerse you more into the season that they're in and the time and setting that they're in. So I like that. Um, there's this famous scene where they go under the bridge and or through a tunnel and they kind of stand up on the truck and scream or whatever, and the tunnel is lit with these orange lights, as we've all probably been through a tunnel before, and they kind of put an orange tint over the screen while they do that scene. It's very subtle and light, but it's good, it's done well. um, yeah, overall the cinematography I like a lot, and the editing, I like the editing. They intersperse some flashbacks with Charlie and his past to give you some clues throughout the movie as to kind of the reveal that happens towards the end and why he is like a wallflower sort of a thing. I like how that's edited pretty well. First time around watching the movie, I was impressed by the reveal at the end, and I think when there is a reveal at the end of a movie, if it makes sense, that's a good thing. If you get like a surprise or a big reveal at the end of a movie and you're like, where the heck did this come from? That's never a good thing because that means that they didn't give you enough context earlier on to have it make sense. But with how they edited this movie with the flashbacks, I did think it made sense and was a proper ending. And like the reveal and all that made logical sense once you think through it. So that was well done. Um, yeah, so I think, I would say acting good, and didn't go above and beyond for me, but more because it was hampered by the writing and the direction, I would say. But like for what they were given and what they were told to do, they did good. Um, writing, I guess I would say like decent. I think it can be challenging to adapt a novel at certain points, but I think like overall they did they tried their best. They could have been better. If I give the acting like an A minus, I think I would give the writing like a B. Direction, again, I would give like a B or a B minus. Like, did fine, did adequate, but there was a lot of opportunities to improve, to make enhance certain aspects of this movie that they didn't really take. Um, all right, what do we have left? Cinematography, I'll give an A minus. Liked it. Obviously, you could do a few more tricks and things to evoke a few more themes, but they did really solid. And editing, I'll give A minus B plus, in that range. Like did really well as far as the flashbacks, and there aren't any cool like tricks or anything beyond that. I feel like with the editing much, it's pretty standardly done, but the flashbacks are a nice touch. Yeah, so overall, I think I would give this movie like an A minus. Like it a lot. I think as you watch it more and more and probably get farther and farther away from high school, it has less meaning than it did maybe if you watched it initially when you were in high school. But I still think it has a lot of good lessons and is really enjoyable, and all the characters are really enjoyable. So that makes it easy to like. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on The Perks of Being a Wallflower. If you have never seen it, please watch it. It is very fun, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. And that's it. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.